Hey, Texas, if you're ready to get out on the water and catch some big fish, then you're in the right place.
That's right. We're bringing you statewide fishing reports from your favorite guides and captains, tips and tricks, plus so much more on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Well, the wait is over and we are back for an all-new season here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Captain Rick Murphy and Brie Gabrielle, bringing you fresh reports from all over the state of Texas. Rick, are you ready for 2024 or what?
I am ready, Brie. You know, and if you're a first-time viewer and just tuning in for the first time, let me tell you a little bit about the show. 60 minutes. We've got 6 guides, 3 freshwater, 3 coastal and saltwater guys, and every week we're going to cover the state of Texas, letting you know what's hot and what's not. So make sure you tune in.
Absolutely. Well, before we see who our first guide is, we could never start a season without Dave Ferrell at the Yak Gear Workbench. Welcome back, Dave.
How's it going? It's great to be back. I got me a new little hat too, man. Some blue camo.
You're back
Texas.
at the Yak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ready to talk about new products. We're going to be doing some rigs and techniques. Super excited. All right, we're starting out in the Upper Fresh region, which has been full of action lately, and Mike McFarland is here to tell us all about it. Welcome back, Mike.
Thanks, Bree. So cool to be kicking off the season. Hey, Dave. Hey, Captain. Everything is super exciting here in the Upper Fresh region, and the spawn is on. Let's start with Joe Shipley, guide Joe Shipley out of Ray Hubbard. The bass are shallow. Find areas of grass and fish the holes in the pockets behind those grass lines. You can't really see the beds, so you're going to kind of just anticipate where you would see those, expect those fish to be spawning. Use white 3-inch swim baits on a 3/8-ounce underspin. Just fishing, and then Texas rig creature baits and green pumpkin chartreuse. That's what you're going to use on the for the bed fish. The spawn definitely is on at Hubbard. Jay Bonner, Lake Athens. Same thing. Some male buck bass. They're on the beds. The water's clear there, so you can see them very well. The females really haven't moved in, but occasionally you might see a female paired up with a male. Creature baits in natural colors or just plain pearl white are best to catch these bedfish. There's also a lot of shad in the backs of the coves and pockets, with some bass beginning to school and feed on them. Try a Texas-rigged weightless 3-inch Bass Assassin in shad colors in these areas. My home lake, Lake Fork, with Captain Mike McFarland. Bass fishing on Fork is unbelievable. The big male bass, and I mean male bass up to 6 pounds, are on spawning beds all over the lake in 1 to 4 foot of water. They're waiting for the females. Texas rig Bass Assassin creature baits like the Whoopa Craw in pearl white or Alabama Craw colors are best for sight fishing. Remember, when you're sight fishing, you have to be able to see in the water very well. So I highly suggest that you wear a good pair of glasses. I choose the Bajío brand. The copper or bronze lens is really going to let you see those fish. I showed my client the other day. You just couldn't believe the difference. There's also a big swim bait and glide bait bite beginning on the main lake windblown points. Afternoons and evenings are best for this. And here's a picture of what we call the Lake Fork Special. This is just a common bass to Lake Fork.
Nice. All right, what else you got for us this week, bub?
Crappie. Let's go to Lake Levon. Lake Levon, 3 to 15 feet. The crappie are setting up their spawn there as well. Pre-spawn mode and roaming around, hanging around brush piles, shallow lay-down limbs and trees. Anything that you could expect those crappie to hold on. Small hand-tied jigs and live minnows are best. You'll find more crappie spawning in the north end of the lake. And again, that structure, 2 to 7 feet, is the key. Lake Fork with guide Jackie Wiggins, one of my favorite crappie guides. This guy kills it. Lake Fork crappie fishing has really been all over the place this past week with temperatures and winds and things. Not seeing a lot of fish committed to the shallows, but there's fish in 2 feet and there's still fish in 30 feet. The best range is going to be fishing your grass, timber, anything that's got that 10 to 12-foot transition. But with the cold fronts and the winds, it's been kind of hit and miss. He does fill limits every day. He's seen a lot of fish trying to spawn but have not spawned out yet. Most of the fish that he is catching, again, are going to be in that shallow deal with small hand-tied jigs and minnows. And here's Jackie Wiggins with a limit of crappie.
Wow. Making me hungry. All right. Tell us a little bit about the white bass.
Stripers and white bass, Lake Levon with Kerry Thorne. White bass are great. spawning in the north end of the lake, use 4-pound monofilament with inline spinners and small jigs like a marabou jig, 1/8 ounce to 5/8 ounce, depending on the current that you're seeing. Lake Tawakoni with Matt Cartwright. Stripers and hybrids there are really good. Matt says the hybrids are on fire in about 20 to 25 feet of water, main lake points. You want to be using big swim baits, slow rolling those on the bottom, or big slab spoons, like a 1-ounce slab spoon. But those hybrids are really fun. They're 4 to 6, maybe 8 pounders. Here's a great plate or a great table of fish from Matt Cartwright.
Nice. All right. What else you got for us this week?
Let's finish off with some catfish. Catfish on fork, really good, red hot, 12 to 18 feet of water around roosting trees where the black cormorant bird roosts. Put a little bit of chum there, like the cattle cubes or shad grain, keeps the fish there longer. Lake Tawakoni, the catfish are on windblown points in less than 10 feet with cut shad. And Lake Lavon, the same thing, 5 to 15 feet, putt bait on baited holes.
All right, bud.
Thank you guys so much, man. Good to be back.
Way to start us off. Thank you so much. It's time to take a look at the Ducks Unlimited hotspots from the Upper Fresh region. Mike says, known as the big bass capital of the world, Lake Fork is producing some incredible bass fishing. The recent Bassmasters Elite Tournament produced all top 10 places, had over 100 pounds, and the first place winning weight was 30 pounds for 20 fish stringer, Brie. That's crazy. Big bass are aggressive and they're hungry as they are getting ready for the spawn.
Sounds like we need to get our booties up to Lake Fork.
Come on.
Come on. All right, now the Sea Sucker Lower Coast region is, of course, center stage with the one and only Captain Chad Kinney. Take us fishing again, Chad.
I tell you what, I'm fired up. Start of the season, we got so much transitions. We'll be talking about this whole season here, but right now we got a lot of northerns and stuff pushing through. We're in the deep South Texas area, so watch your forecast, but the fishing can be really great. We're going to talk about some inshore first. Right now, if you're into it, head out to the jetties for some sheepshead action. We don't talk a lot about these guys, but there's a lot of them out there right now. And also along the ICW and the cuts going out to the jetties, there's been some black drum run, which won't last too much longer either. They'll kind of coincide with that sheephead. But talking about the sheephead, they're really in good numbers at the jetties. It's going to be fast action. Main thing is you got to pick some good weather conditions, whether you get outside the jetty or in. Work those edges of the rocks and the washouts. Try some fish bites with a split shot on it will help. Toss in that eddy there, let it slowly sink down. Cast it by the rocks. Live shrimp works also really good with a popping cork. Maybe use a longer leader to keep you out of the rocks if you're having problems getting stuck in there. Maybe a leader 3 to 4 foot in length also. These fish put up a really, really good fight. So on tackle, I've been using a lot of Penn spin fishing. Spinning reels, also like with a Battle Spin Fisher. But that 3000 series works really good. Spool it up with a 30-pound braid. Works the best. This will give you a great fight. You'll still be able to get those fish out of the rocks and pull them out of there. And head out as soon as you can because, like I said, this is going to be like a light switch. These fish are going to be on. You go the next day and all of a sudden they can disappear. So if you can, get out there. Same thing here. We're talking about black drum. Black drum, we don't talk about a bunch, but they're making their annual run here early spring. And there's been some really big ones. Fish along the drop-offs. The edges and the ICW, along the cuts also going out to the Gulf. Best bet on this one is use a Carolina rig. Use fish bites on the bottom, dead shrimp, and just leave it sit on the bottom or crab. Whatever you want to do, just leave it sit, wait. You'll catch some bigger, some keeper-sized fish in the mix also, but this time there's some really big, oversized ones that'll show up. And these oversized fish will definitely kind of be leaving out soon also, so if you want to get some action on that, go ahead and target it now before we change into the rest of the fish. Got a picture here of a big old black drum caught on the ICW between Fort Mansfield and South Padre there. Island got Mary Beth Snyder there.
That's a good one,
Moving over to that's a good solid one. And moving over to the offshore, love the offshore fishing. State water snapper fishing has been good. Same thing, kind of this time of year, you got to check conditions and stuff. So when they're favorable, it's really good. Out deeper, there's been some wahoo on some deeper structure and on the temperature breaks. The red snapper on state waters, it's open right now. It's a great way to spend a day. You get plenty of action, great eating. State water, just, guys haven't done much. It reaches 9 nautical miles from the beach. So those fish are basically in about like 50 to 90 foot of water around structure. They're a reef fish. Most of the fish have been holding really tight to the bottom because of the seas and the currents and stuff. They're changing quite a bit right now this time of year. If the seas are good, you can get them up by chumming. If you can, you can free line some bait out the back. Drift fishing is the best, but if the currents are kind of moving too quick and you're moving the boat too quick or the wind's picked up, then anchor up. put some heavier lead on and go down the bottom if they're holding them tight, which they kind of have been. If you're doing that, kind of put some squid, sardines, cigar minnows, fish bites. Been working good on that. And then if you're jigging, add a fish bite strip to that. Put a heavier jig with the current spad. Put it down the bottom. They will definitely thump the heck out of that. We got a good picture here. We were on Bam Bam the other day. Just a good state water snapper fishing right there.
That is
Moving on to the wahoo fishing. Wahoo has got to be one of my favorite fish out there. One, for eating, and two, the way they attack everything. There's different ways to approach this stuff. You can go from high-speed lures to 15 to 18 knots. You can go down to planers, definitely with like an Islander lure and a ballyhoo rig down to 7 to 8 knots on it. The best bet is to work underwater structure and definitely any surface structure. If you find like a weed line, a weather buoy, any floating debris, make sure you hit that stuff. Remember in this stuff, make sure you use a wire leader because these fish are definitely really toothy and they'll cut through anything really quick. Also, a good trick here we've been doing for years is use a longer shank hook or at least a double hook rig. These fish like to they strike really short. They cut the running gear out of that bait. That bait drops and they come back around to finish it off. So if you get that hook a little bit farther back, you'll get a lot more hook sets and hooked up. And it'll be a great deal there. So we got a great picture. I was able to fish with a family fishing tournament with Rick Murphy and Ridge and me and my daughter. My daughter caught this monster wahoo and we got first place. So.
Yes, we
That's
did.
an amazing fish.
I'm so glad you used that picture starting off the show. Thank you so much, Chad. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower coast hotspots. Chad says inshore, the lower coast jetties have been producing good numbers of sheephead with some black drum in the mix. And then offshore, don't forget those state water red snapper fishing has been good with some Spanish mackerels along the jetties and the beach.
All right, well, we're seeing what they're catching in the lower fresh region when we come back. But first, Dave's 2024 Rigs and Techniques debut is happening over at the Yak Gear Workbench.
Big
Dave,
debut.
Big debut.
Yep, we're going to be talking a little bit about lizards as well.
Lizards.
Yeah, those spawning bass hate a lizard.
Yes.
I like lizards.
Loving the
I
lizards.
can't wait to hear this, Brie.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio. Blue light blocking, radically clear polarized fishing sunglasses. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. 30 years of fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Well, we're here at the Yak Gear Workbench, Dave, and it's certainly time to talk about some rigs and techniques.
Yes, sir.
So, it looks like we're talking about bed and bass.
That's exactly what we're talking about. We were fishing in the springtime, this time of year, you're probably going to be fishing for bedding bass, even if you really are not the kind of guy who wants to fish for bedding bass. A lot of the bigger fish, if you're fishing in shallow water, they're going to be bedding bass. Even if you can't see them on a bed, they're going to be close to a bed or about to make a bed or, they're bedding bass. So,
correct.
But that's what we're going to be talking about. And, if you can see them, then they can probably see you. And, if the water's clear, if you had a lot of rain and the water's dirty, or you can't see them, so again, you don't even know the thing's on a bed or not. But if you can see them and they can see you, you're probably better off to just go ahead and use pure braid and try to get a good feel for the bite and get a good solid hook set on that braid because it doesn't stretch any. If you can see them, then that's when you want to go to your fluorocarbon, and you'll probably do a little better with a fluorocarbon in really clear, clean water. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to irritate that bass. She's sitting on that bed, she's laid her eggs, or the little male bass is there guarding the bed from other male bass, and they're wanting to protect those eggs in there. So what we're going to do is try to irritate them with our bait, which is the prey, that's going to come in there and try to eat their stuff.
Right.
And their first thing that they really hate is a lizard. The salamanders and that sort of thing like to eat bass eggs, and this is the time of year where they're starting to crawl around and get into those beds. And they just bass always hate lizards. But this time of year, they really hate them. So, if you put a little Texas rig on there, without a weight or with a weight, nice Trocar TK110XL wide gap, regular worm hook there. that's going to be your best bet. You can put a weight on there. It depends on the cover around the bed and that kind of thing. If you need to get down quickly, how deep the bed is. But
if it's windy.
Exactly. And if you can see a great big fish, you might want to go up to the mag worms. The mag hooks, the XL types.
Right.
And you can also rig just a regular worm with a tungsten weight and a bead, because that'll make a clicking noise.
Little click.
Yeah, it gets that click, 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 and that'll get their attention, and they really hate that too. A TK125, EWG, any of the mag worms, again, those are all great hooks for that.
Yeah.
And when you're fishing those, when you can see that fish on the bed, what you don't want to do is, throw right at his face. You know, it's better if you can come up from behind the fish when it's sitting on the bed, off to the side. You don't want to throw the line over the top of the fish, because sometimes they'll see that and spook off. That's what we're not wanting to happen. We want that little, your predator, your prey, coming up to sliding in behind the bass, and he'll spin real quick thinking something's sneaking up on him and trying to eat his stuff, and just eat it immediately. And that's what we're hoping is going to happen. So try to come in from the tail. Don't try to whack them in the face with it.
And don't be in a hurry. Put your power poles down and
let
everything
him settle down first. Let him, because if he sees you, he might spook off. And if you sit there for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, sometimes he'll come back in there, or she'll come back in there. One of the two of them will come back in there, and that's when they're really, really getting to get fired up. Now you got a wacky rig that'll really work well on them, and a Ned rig as well will work. If you have a little Ned rig,
right,
or even a jig. The jigs work really well, especially when you have a shaky head or one of these, with a little tap out on it. They really hate white as well. A white jig, for some reason, the white jigs do. Maybe they think it's a little shad or something coming in there to eat their eggs. I don't know. But if it looks like a bluegill or a shad, they hate it. They really want to destroy it. So you can put a tube on there, a whoopa craw, this whoopa craw, or the logger toad, either one of those. Any of those.
Look how sexy that is.
Yeah, that's a tube. So it's those claws will float up, and he'll like to smash it.
Everything about
the
that.
little skunk ape too. The little dude there. You can put that on a 2-aught and a 3-aught, or put a little weight on his nose. And he's really good to throw in there as well. Now you can also put a Nico rig right there. You put a weight in the bottom of it so that thing stands up, and it goes powers into the bottom of that bed and stands right up, and it looks like he's just eating the eggs. Another crusher, and a finesse worm. That's got the Trocar Pro V finesse, the TK137, and you got if you're in a weedy spot, you can use that because it's got the nice weedless on there. And you just sneak up behind them with that. Again, a white one, really, they really hate that. And it looks like, because I guess it looks like a little shad that's in there, or a little fish in there trying to eat up their stuff. And they're going to try to chase it away or pick it up and eat it. And that's what we want. We want them to get eaten.
I did not know that about the salamanders. Really good job.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
They don't like lizards.
Yeah, Dave, lots of good stuff over there. I just learned something new too.
What'd you learn?
About the lizards. About the lizards. I had no idea about the lizards. All right, everything's bigger in Texas, as we know, and word on the water is the bass are bigger in the lower fresh region if you're fishing with Matt Reed. How are we doing, Matt?
We're good, Brie. Let's get this thing kicked off. I got way too much to talk about in a short window to get her done. I'm going to start off with the Falcon Lake bass. They've been a little bit scattered. We've got like 7 feet of new water from Lake Amistad's release. We're still 33 foot low, but we've got a lot of new water. My best bite's been flipping the deepest outside brush. We did catch about 25 fish today doing that, so it can be a lot of fun. Shad spawn's happening also. If you land on it, throw a vibrating jig and capitalize on that bite. A big one can happen, as you know, any cast down here. Brian Cotter sent me a report from Lake Travis. Lake Travis fishing good. The fish are shallow, most of them in coves. Really kind of hard to see the bedding fish in there, but there's quite a few of them around. The other pattern that you want to do is you want to look for grass patches that are out on the river bend flats. Soft stick baits and crawl worms have been catching those fish around that grass. Lake Decker's fishing great. There's more and more bedding bass showing up, and he's having real good success catching those. Size and numbers are good. Another technique there is throwing small 5-inch worms at the grass, and cattails around the shallow water. That's been what's going on there, and fishing has been very, very good. Greg Boyd sent me a report from Fayette County. He's been a little bit spotty the last few days. Still finding some fish in the shallow grass with lipless crankbaits and swim jigs and chatterbaits. It's a hot water lake. Some of the offshore fish are already beginning to show up. Carolina rigs, drop shots, and shaky heads paired with stick baits and flukes have been catching fish out in that deeper water already. That's kind of one of the anomalies of the hot water. Turk Doves sent me a report from Lake Amistad. The bass are on all sides of the spawn. You want to, throw soft plastic stick worms to any shallow cover in the spawning locations. Also, one of the biggest things you want to do is concentrate on the drop-offs leading to and from the areas that intersect those spawning areas. There's lots of big fish moving in and out. This has been the best year in a long time at Amistad for catching big fish, so come on down and join in on the action. Mike Bates, Center Report from Choke Canyon. The bass are definitely spawn-related there, too, running a little behind this year for some reason. Low water is one of the biggest keys for that. They'll kind of try and wait for the water to come back up, but then they decide they got to go ahead and do it. You want to throw soft plastics and vibrating jigs in that shallow cover for that, spawning action up there. If you prefer to chase the pre-spawners and post-spawners, they seem to be relating to the 6 to 10 foot drops close to those spawning flats. Mike's having great numbers and a lot of big fish showing up right now. So you want to get out to Choke Canyon and take your shot at catching a big old 10-pounder. I've got 3 bass pictures there. One of them is Mike with a typical Choke Canyon 10-pounder.
Nice.
Those are always a lot of fun. And this is Kurt Dove's buddy Eric with an Amistad big fish. And Greg Boyd's got a Fayette County stud there in that third picture. So springtime in South Texas sure does give up a lot of big fish.
It sure does. What else you got down in South Texas?
Got a little catfish from Ram Reyes. I sent me a report from down at Falcon. The trophy blue cats are up in the shallow cover we've got right now, and that could be a handful, hand-to-hand combat up in that green cover on a 20 to 40 or 50 pound blue cat. Just sounds like a lot of fun. Fresh cut carp and tilapia are your best option for those trophy size fish. The keeper size blues and channel cat are out on the river ledge. It's catching those best on fresh shad. Fill you a limit of those great eater size cats. Got a picture there of one of his clients with a handful of blue cats.
Wow.
That is the best picture I think I've seen in a while.
Matt, how big do you think that catfish is with that little boy?
Oh, I would guess that's a 40-plus pound cat. Really fat. It's just a tremendous catfish. The fish is about as big as that little youngster smile.
Yeah, you got it. So do they fillet that fish and eat that fish, or do they let them that big go?
Ram will not keep those trophy-sized catfish.
That's good to hear.
Plenty of keeper size, eater size, 2 to 7 or 8 pound blues, and that's the ones they keep to eat. Those big fish get to go back to play again another day.
All right, man. Well, thank you for that picture. It really made us smile here. And you know what? I'm going to send Ram some of the new Fish Bites catfish baits, and I want him to try it out for me.
He'll do it.
All right, bud. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower fresh region. Matt says Choke Canyon, the bass are biting extremely well. Get in the spawning areas with soft plastics or vibrating jigs to load the boat. The numbers are great with a bunch of big ones included as well. Come on, man, we need to go.
It's still making me smile. I love it.
It
He was
cool.
so happy. All right, we've got your Fish Bites Middle Coast and Startron Middle Fresh regions ready to bed some rods this weekend. So stay tight with us, and remember to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Scan that QR code on your screen to check out all of our social media pages, our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy, where you can see new fishing adventures, along with reports and more. Plus, on our website, we have brand new show merchandise to enhance your fishing wardrobe. So scan away and get yours now. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. Abyss Battery. Power your pursuit. Ducks Unlimited. Leader in wetlands conservation. Rodan. Set it, forget it, catch more fish. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Penn. Let the battle begin.
Today's Power Pole tip is certainly about the premium brand products that Power Pole has to offer. Now, over the last 25 years, they have certainly created some really cool products. The Charge comes to mind for me, and certainly it saves me a lot of time each day when I can just simply get home, plug in, and not have to worry about watching and maintaining my batteries between trips. The other thing that I think about is how easy it's made my job and my boating experience on a day-to-day basis when I'm actually using the shallow water anchors that they have to offer as well. Remember this, when you're talking about buying a Power Pole product, you're supporting a Florida-based company right here in Tampa. And the thing that I also appreciate about them is how well their customer service and what they have to offer us. It certainly is the best in the industry, so keep that in mind. So on behalf of Power Pole, we want to thank you for supporting Power Pole over the last 25 years. And we also are looking forward to working with you with new products over the next 25 years. And if you have any questions, you can go to powerpole.com, and that's today's Power Pole tip of the week.
That was a good tip, Rick. Power Pole's just the best. You're good at it.
They really make your life easy.
Yes, they do. All right, we sure missed Captain Bink Grimes' thorough reports from the Fish Bites Middle Coast region. So, Bink, let's get back to that fishing business.
All right, a lot has happened in the past 6 months concerning our speckled trout fishery. Conservation-minded anglers have spoken up, and Texas Parks and Wildlife have listened and tightened speckled trout regulations, which is just wonderful for our fishery. We want to give credit to CCA and Parks and Wildlife for listening to our plea. As of March 26th, our speckled trout regulations have gone to 3 fish with a 15 to 20 inch slot, which should just really help our bays rebound. Better days are on the horizon. There's a lot of great attitudes out there for our fishery, and we're proud. Stiff southerly breezes lately have pumped up our tides and pushed trout tighter to the shoreline for waders casting the reefs and working sand and grass pockets. In West Matagorda Bay, the trout bite's been good on shrimp and excellent while waiting. We worked the West Matagorda Bay shorelines, concentrating the flats on those high tides. Most of those trout have been hanging in 40 to 50 yards right off the shoreline because a lot of that bait's pushed right up in that grass. And then in East Matagorda, drifting with live shrimp and soft plastics under cork has been the ticket. Worked the shell while making long floats around the flicks and flip and mullet. I had some great days last week for a lot of trout that we caught that were 20 inches or better that we released. Port O'Connor guide Lynn Smith said he's worked guts and troughs with a falling tide on Bass Assassins. Those mirror lure soft dines have really worked well for waders. It's one of my favorite, working those sand and grass around Panther Point. And then around Freeport, Bastrop, and Christmas Bay, there's fish all over those reefs. Best bite's been on live shrimp on the edge of those reefs. Along with those trout, there's a lot of black drum this time of year and redfish on the edges of those reefs. Then at Rockport, Super Flats and St. Joe Island have been good for small topwaters, corkies, and again, those mirror lure softine dines have really worked well. There's a photo there. That's a 30.5-inch trout we caught and released recently. It weighed 8.4 pounds. We released it. We tagged it. We're looking for more of these in the coming days. It's going to happen. Catch and release works. Get on the bandwagon. Be cool. A lot of redfish here lately. There's a lot of shrimp in our bay. Our bait shrimpers have had no problem keeping our tanks full at the bait camps. And when that's the case, the fishing normally turns on. Waders have found redfish tight to the grass with those bloated tides. Smaller shrimp hide in the grass with a high tide, and those reds really get in there and root them out with their nose. If you see a shrimp hopping in the grass, there's a good chance of a redfish sparking that reaction. The best bet for reds lately has been on the beach. Slide reds have been caught in the first gut, and the bull reds have been on the deeper side. There's a lot of big shrimp on the beach right now. A lot of those shrimpers are going out there and getting those shrimp. and just a lot of 13 to 15 count shrimp out there. The same pattern has been around Palacios and Matagorda, Crab Lake, Oyster Lake, Coon Island, holding redfish on lime, shrimp, and mullet. Tides are high again. Most of those fish are right on top of the shell. Then at Surfside, the Porter Condor jetties, they're still holding a lot of bull reds. Some are using cracked crabs, others are free lining big Gulf shrimp on Carolina rigged table shrimp. Offshore, red snapper here lately. Freeport guide Mike Siegel said that red snapper's still been caught in state water. Sardines dropped in 35 to 40 foot of water has been great. There's a lot of sharks out there with them as well. Michael Quebec and Matagorda said the ling and amberjacks are showing. He's also been catching swords out there. Red snapper, good state waters off Matagorda, a lot 10 to 15 pound range. A lot of bull reds, like I said, right off the beach. A lot of sharks near the beach. When I say right off the beach, 2 to 3 miles right off the beach. Water temperatures are easing closer to 70 degrees, which is warm for this time of year. But that's kind of what's happening for those pelagics out there. We're happy to be back. We're so happy to be back on the Fish Bites of Middle Coast region. We're going to do our best to give you the best reports we can, and we ask that you just practice sound conservation. Please release more than you take. Have fun out there. Be cognizant of your fellow man and just have a good time fishing.
All right, thank you. A lot of great advice coming from the man, Bing Grimes from the Middle Coast region. It's time to take a look at the MirrOlure hotspots. Bink says that inshore, trout are fair while drifting in East Matagorda Bay on plum, bass, assassin, sea shads, and shrimp under a popping cork. Don't forget the redfish, they're fair to good in the back lakes on shrimp and on crabs. And then offshore, swordfish are good offshore when the wind allows you to get out.
All caps on the wind allows.
Woof.
Woof. All cap locks. All right, let's get Matt Loescher on the line, who's getting you back to catching on Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, and Richland Chambers in the Startron Middle Fresh region. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Brie. Super excited to be back for another great season, and man, what a great season it's already been so far for the fishing. Middle Fresh region has been on fire lately. Unfortunately, it has been a little windy, like Bink was talking about. We're dealing with that up here too, but we're making do. And we're going to try to talk about a lot of species this week. We're going to start with largemouth bass. I'm going to get right to it. We got a lot to talk about. I'm going to get through as much of it as I can. So starting off with the largemouth on Toledo Bend, man, this lake has just been on fire this year. It's pumping out more fish and bigger fish than we've seen in a long time. And we have the grass to thank for that. There's more hydrilla and other vegetation in the lake right now than we've seen in years. And all that great habitat has the bass thriving. So we're super excited about getting that grass back in the lake. Right now, the fish are in full-blown spawn mode here. We have fish in all stages of the spawn. On the north end of the lake, you're going to find a lot more post-spawn fish. And then on the south end, you're going to find more spawning fish and maybe just a few pre-spawners still, but not many. Most of them are already doing it or already have done it. The bite right now is primarily shallow around the grassy points in about 2 to 8 feet of water. The Bass Assassin Fat Job has been a great bait, as always. I always have one of those tied on year-round. It's been good in black and blue in the stained water, and then watermelon red for the cleaner water. And I've been fishing it weightless primarily on just a 4-aught hook, just throwing it out there on that 4-aught hook and letting it slowly sink down over that grass, and they can't stand it. Now, occasionally the fish are also running some shad and some bluegill around right now. And so if you see some fish doing a little chasing or busting the surface, that Little Boss swim bait is the ticket. Pearl white is really hard to beat right now for that swim bait. That white flash just gets their attention, and they just hammer it. Something about that white makes them mad. Now, if you get out in the drains, you can also catch a few fish out deeper with your forward-facing sonar. You can get out there and use those Bass Assassin shad baits. They've got them from a 3-inch on up. You put that on a jig head and just go from fish to fish so you find one that wants to bite, and you can really catch some big ones doing that too, and they've got a lot of great colors in that bait that'll catch them for you. Speaking of big fish, I've got a photo here for you of Mr. Elliott with a nice 8-pounder he caught with me recently there.
That's a nice fish, bud.
Yeah, big pretty one there.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
now we're going to jump over to Sam Rayburn. The bass bite has been really good over on Rayburn as well. The water level's pretty low on Rayburn. They've been pulling it down. They're still holding it down, trying to get that dam work done over there. But the fish are biting. Numbers and size are both real good. The grass is not quite as much of a player over at Rayburn this season because of the water level being down low, but there is still some grass you can find and catch fish in. But the primary pattern has just been catching them out on the point. Mainly on a square bill crankbait. That's been really good. Just those Berkeley square bill crankbaits and a chartreuse black back out there in about 2 to 12 foot of water with those fish chasing shadow on those points. That's been great. If they don't want to bite the crankbait, pick up a Carolina rig, put one of those shad baits on it, and just drag that around. If they're not being as aggressive, you can catch them that way. All right, now we're going to go up to Richland Chambers. Mr. Thurman Selman there with Bass Specialty. He's always keeping us in the loop. He's got a lot of guys fishing for him up there, staying on the fish. And he says that green pumpkin fat job has been the ticket. They're fishing dirt shallow. They're fishing it either weightless or with an 1/8 weight there at Chambers. He says he's been catching some really good fish that way, really, really shallow up there. All right, now I'm going to try to swap it over to the crappie. We're going to talk about Toledo Bend. It's been pumping out some really big crappie this year, just like the bass. Those crappie love that grass. We've been catching them over the grass and out on some of the points in about 8 to 15 foot of water. Either minnows fished under a slip cork or jigs are both working to catch them. And I got a photo for you of Miss Tammy Jones there with a big old slab. Got a nice giant one there.
Pretty fish, pretty gal.
Wow.
All right.
Yes, sir. All right, real quick, the white bass, back over to Rayburn. Those same points I was just talking about for the largemouth, you can move out a little deeper and find the white bass over there too. Crankbaits or jigging spoons will catch them. It's a pretty simple deal. White bass are catching fish, man. If you get around them, it seems like they're always biting. Just got to get around them. And they've been sitting out in about 12 to 20 feet of water there on those points on Rayburn. So check that out. And then the catfish. You guys that love to get those catfish, man, you can load the freezer right now. And this kind of goes for a lot of the Middle Fresh Region lakes. You know, those catfish move up into the flats, and they really like those flat main lake areas. So you get out on the main lake. Don't try to get too far up in the creek. Stay out on the main lake and find those flat areas where they can get up shallow and chase those shad in about 2 to 6 foot of water on the flat points and ridges. You can float something under a cork. You can float shad. Night crawlers work really good. Whatever you want. They're usually not too picky. You just got to get around them. And I'm going to leave you with a photo there of Mr. Captain Robert Lewis with a nice big old catfish there.
Matt, thank you so much. Great pictures this week, you know, and I'm really excited to hear that Toledo Bend is on fire. And we're looking forward to working with you for the whole season. You always do such a great job, bud. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine System hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. Matt says the bass are biting soft plastics consistently in the shallow. Crappie are in 8 to 15 feet on the points and over grass. White bass are feeding on the points as well as in 12 to 20 feet of water. And then those catfish are on the top of the flat points of 2 to 6. Everything that he reported is his hot spot.
Yep, there you go.
And you know what? I don't like that damn work either. That's what he was saying. He said he was working on the damn work.
I had to think twice about it. But you know what? So far, everybody that I've sent in photos, kids, men, women, everyone has such big smiles on their face, and it's so good to be back to see all that.
I love that they're just happy being outside.
I know, exactly. All right, the front runner boats Upper Coast region is coming up next. But first, the one, the only, Dave Ferrell has some Taco Marine new products to show off at the Yak Gear Workbench.
Sexy.
Yeah, look,
sexy man.
for this segment, we're going to have this 4-segmented bait.
Dave,
What
can
about
you,
that?
Dave,
See
can
how
you
you
dance like
segment
that?
twice?
Dance like that. Come on, do
no.
it. Do the worm.
No.
Do the fish.
I can't do the worm.
Fine, we'll be back.
Can't do the worm or the
Boring.
fish. Let's see you do it.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Abu Garcia, Fish to Win, Fenwick, Feel Everything, Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome, Island Lures, Tournament Tackle, Sea Sucker, easy on, easy off, incredibly strong. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miro lure. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. And Startron, start, run, and store with Startron.
So, Dave, we're here for round 2 at the Yak Gear Workbench. And
Yes,
you know
sir.
what? New products is something I always love to talk about. So let's just get right
We're
into
going
it.
to start way down there at that end with the
All right.
telescopic boat cover support from TH Marine Supply. And, you know, this is a really cool thing to have. You know, if you have a cover on your boat, which we all like to put a cover on our boat, even when we put it up in the garage or whatever, I like to put a cover on mine. But what this does is it keeps your cover taut. so that it doesn't form a place where leaves and especially rain can get in and make a big dent in your cover and eventually wear out your cover and leak and then would mess up your boat. So what this thing does is it keeps your cover from wearing out, and it also keeps your boat from getting wet. And it's got this nice big mushroom at the top that spreads out the weight.
Right,
and,
so you don't punch a hole.
Exactly, and it's got a nice little rubber deal at the bottom so that it stays in one place.
And
it
it
adjusts from
extends.
28 to 48 inches, so no matter what kind of height you need, it'll help you out. So
Where do we go to get it?
you go to thmarinesupplies.com to get that.
Perfect.
Next, we have the Savage Gear 4Play Pro, and what they did to make this bait is they got a 3D scan of I think it was a sardine or a pilchard or something, and they made it into a bait, and it's a 4-segmented bait. You can either straight wind it or jerk it, so it'll do just about anything you want it to do. It's got 1 1/4 ounce, 3/4 ounce, 2 1/4 ounce, just a lot of ways to fish it because you got all those different weights, and they all sink pretty slowly though. You see from the size of it, even a heavier bait.
Well, this could imitate in salt water. It could imitate
Correct.
a ladyfish.
Yes.
Or
even the small ones is definitely that little gold one there is really looks like a shiner. That small little tiny one.
For
there.
sure.
It looks, they, like I said, slow sinking, 4 to 8 feet. They come in 5-inch, 8-inch, and 6 1/4 inch. 8 color combinations for any water clarity, and they got that unique swimming side-to-side action if you're going to be just winding it, or it'll just drift off and you can use it like a drift bait and jerk it and let it just do its thing like that. Really nice hooks on there,
cannot
carbon
wait.
steel hooks. I'd love to throw that thing for some bass for
I
sure.
may not sleep dreaming of the damage that's going to happen to this, as well as my fingers and hands.
Correct. Everything will eat that thing. So you go to savagegear.com to get you one of those Savage Gear 4Play Pros.
All right.
Next, we have the Sea Sucker Tackle Station.
Yes, sir.
And if you have a little flat skiff or a smaller boat, tackle storage is always a problem. It's always hard to find plenty of room to get your gear on there. Sometimes you'll end up putting it in places where you don't want it because you can't get to it, or you forget about it because you've put it someplace where you don't want it. But this keeps your tackle storage right out in the open, and you can put it virtually anywhere where there's a flat surface where you want it to be. The Sea Sucker Tackle Station, and it's got that big 4-inch vacuum mount on there, so it really holds. See how heavy that board is. Really heavy. That fishing show board is really heavy.
It is heavy.
So and it's the tackle station itself is 7 1/4 inches long by 2 1/2 inches deep, and it holds a nice Plano 3600 series box in there, or anything smaller than that box.
Yeah,
you can fit in there. It's got the nice bungee on the top
Right.
that holds it in there once you get it in there. So
Wrong way.
yeah.
Come on, Ricky.
Well,
There you go. No. It's my own fault.
I got you.
I don't have it in the right place.
Yeah. So anyway, those things you can put that anywhere on a flat surface, and it is not coming off.
Nope.
That's the great thing about that Sea Sucker product. Once you pump that thing down and get that little orange thing disappears,
Yeah.
you're ready to go. Even the wind won't pull it off. You go 60 miles an hour, that's going to stay right there. Go to seasucker.com to get that tackle storage thing, or a ton of other cool stuff.
30 seconds.
If you go to that seasucker.com, you'll be shopping all day because there's a bunch of cool stuff. Bass Assassin Baby Shad comes in 6 new colors. It comes in the Northern Minnow, the Crushed Shad, the Iridescent, which is the white here, the Gizzard Shad.
Great for forward sonar fishing.
Yes, and if you pair it with one of these little Trocar weedless finesse jig heads, the TKNJ 110-4 or the 110-8, the black or the white, and you pair it up with one of these things, this would be a great little thing to throw on a bed.
Oh, yeah.
Like we were talking about bedding bass before, these little shads. So get the baby shads in the new color from Bass Assassin. There's 6
Bree,
different colors.
We don't never have enough time
So
over here.
much to talk about with new products. All right, the Front Runner Boats Upper Coast region sure is cleaning up with this week's catches inshore and offshore. Go ahead and close out our first show. Captain Weston, welcome back.
Well, Let's welcome back all of our viewers for another year of great fishing. I have a good feeling about this year, as always. Now, our redfish in our area have been running the shore lines in search of bait all spring. So they're waiting on you fishermen to get out there and catch them. We're not waiting on them this year. Live bait has been really hard to beat. Hard baits on top water is good as well. The old Chopo 90 and the 120 in silver chrome can be seen very well in the stained water right now. But the added plus of the noise they make when you bring them back to the boat, they're really hot. They're really hot lures right now. The water temp over Trinity Bay right now is about 67. And pushing on out to the jetties, that cleaner water coming in out on the tides, these fish are following bait in and out along the jetties. So anywhere right now, also the live bait, like we talked about, shrimp on a popping cork, all the waders are throwing them along the shores right now. And you can also free line a small finger mullet right now, a Texas rig, over those oyster reefs in the bays. I'm telling you, it's hot right now. Watch for the birds this week. They've been diving on the bait, and they'll bring you right to the fish. And as always, those telltale oil slicks, you'll see them as well this time of year. We have a picture today of Crystal with a nice redfish.
There you
go. And guys, bouncing right over to trout this week. You know, the water temp is slowly warming, and there's more and more bait as we see along the jetties like they talked about, all the way back into the grassy shorelines. And the trout bite is still a little slow, but I'm telling you, the size is making it worth its weight, Rick. These large fish, large baits are the way to go this week. Some very, very large fish have been caught in the past week. I'm seeing photos that are just, wow, right? Hey, on the jetties on the incoming tide, hit that cleaner green water. We're also throwing that Berkeley Magic Swimmer in gold and a Bass Assassin 5-inch white with a swim tail. Right now, a 1/2-inch red jig head is burning hot. East Galveston Bay water temp is about 63. Moving on out, it's 68. So it's moving. This little bit of rain is cooling it off, but as you go out, the temperature's coming up. Those fish are still schooling around those oyster patches. I can't speak today. Look for the potholes near the mouth of the feeder creeks as well. Use your bottom machine, and when you hit the fish, just stop like on that Rodan. Current, stay up current. Cast downhill to these fish to be quiet as possible, and you may land some really big trout right now. We have a picture today of Matt with a nice trout.
Oh, nice. All right, let's go offshore, bub.
So, as always in the spring, wahoo is big for us here in the Upper Coast, and it is full swing right now. It has come back strong. We've had some really nice weather windows this month. The anglers have brought in some beautiful fish. Over to East and West Flower Gardens right now, that's going to be your spot to go, to run to from the Upper Coast. They're trolling high-speed lures right now in the early mornings. That first gray light, first hour or so of light is going to be hot. A great bait is an 8-inch Islander or a 10-inch Islander rigged with a ballyhoo. Any color right now is the fish are biting. Run a naked ballyhoo down the center of the spread. We always do that. Always run one deep. 8 to 12 knots right now. Outriggers are a real plus for trolling for these fish as well. And Taco Marine makes one of the best dang setups available. With all the styles, the lance colors to choose from, it's just an awesome product. So, hey, catch a weather window and get out there and catch some of these big wahoo. I'm telling you, they're beautiful right now. I have a picture today of my buddy Leon with a nice fish.
Carl, you got 30 seconds for swordfish. Make it quick.
Swordfish, we have a great month. We always swordfish in between wahoo. We're producing some beautiful fish as well. The daytime bite has been great. I'm running like 150-pound soft mono leader. Minimum tangles. It doesn't scope as bad. Mahi bellies right now, great. Some anglers prefer big squid, whatever works for you. Use lights. Work your bait up and down 50 to 100 feet. When you get a strike trigger, it'll trigger a bite. And remember, Sea Sucker makes a ton of fishing accessories that we have. You can go to their website. Cell phone holders, cup holders. When you're out there sword fishing, it gets boring and you need all these little places for your accessories. Go grab some goodies over there. And I've got a picture today of Mr. Leon again with a big old swordfish.
All right, bud. Great pictures. Thank you. We'll talk to you again next week. Let's take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Coast region. Carl says inshore, targeting redfish while throwing hard baits such as Berkeley Chopos and Chrome along the jetties and on the incoming tide, and then offshore, chasing wahoo while fast trolling a mixed bag of R&R wahoo magnets and islander rigs with ballyhoo at the east and west flower gardens.
Well, hello, gentlemen. We just got through our first show.
How about it?
We did good. And I just want to point out this little new product here on Dave's head.
I like
you
this
can
hat a lot.
find at our website along with the other show merchandise. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. Go
Makes
catch
my head
those
look
fish.
small.
Bye.
I'm
y'all.
sending you on Catfish Bite.